Domestic violence in Trinidad and Tobago needs to stop. Did you know that as many as 6 women were murdered in domestic violence incidents in Trinidad and Tobago within the first 2 months of 2020? Hi, I am Brittany Williams, and I take a stand against domestic violence. Violence against women may not be a hot, trending topic, but it is still an important one. That is why I have decided to host a show where you get to see real people tell their real story of their personal encounter with domestic violence. Over the course of these interviews, we will be giving multiple women who wish to share their experience a platform, not only to encourage, but to tell you that you are not alone. We see you, we hear you, we care for you. Hi, welcome to Empowered by Women. My name is Brittany Williams, and I'm here today with Trisha Padmore. Trisha, welcome to the set.
And thank you, Brittany.
So today we will be viewing on a topic based on loss.
Yes. And I must say I appreciate the I appreciate being able to come on set here and tell my story. You know, it is a very heartfelt topic that most women go through in a silent manner. You know, many talk about loss, but when you lost like your own, like it's one thing to lose a child. Let us view that you lost a child. It's one thing to lose a child at a particular age or in a particular setting, but my story particularly is I lost my son at he was 3 years old, and he was born with cerebral palsy, right? So at the whole beginning of pregnancy and stuff, it was a child, right? So people go through a lot of things. It's not easy to lose a child generally, right? No matter whether it be sickness or just stillbirth or whatever it is, just to have a child forming inside your body and then to you carry out that child, and then after a while you lost that bond. It is very hard for women to cope with, right? So my story begins in the year 2009, right? Um, I was so happy when I found out I was pregnant, right? I was even more happy when I realized I was pregnant with a boy, right? 'Cause I already had my girl, so I wanted a boy. We always want this balance, boy and the girl, right? But I was happy when I heard I was pregnant with a boy. So yeah, I didn't want nobody to touch me much. Right? No, I don't want nobody to touch me much. So then during the pregnancy, I didn't get much movement of the fetus. Even after a while, after 3 months, 4 months, I find he wasn't moving as regular as a normal child does. Right? So I find that very that was on that had me very uncomfortable. So during the checkups and stuff like that, um, all checkups went like everything was okay. Right? The doctors and them told me everything was okay. The child was okay or whatever. I say, but he not moving as much. He said that is normal. Some children just move a lot and some don't. I said okay, but mother's intuition, told me something was wrong, right? So I was even more careful at what I do, what I eat, where I go. You understand? Just not to put more strain on my stomach or my well-being, as to hinder anything. So anyway, after birth, when he was born, it was It was the happiest day of my life. I was very happy. I was extremely happy, right? He was gorgeous. So I said, I have my little boy here with me. And then they told me that he has to go under the UV light because he was yellow. So um going through that now, I was starting to blame myself and like, what I eat wrong? Why shouldn't I eat? Why I didn't eat too much of ovo? If I eat too much of egg, why should I, So immediately I started to blame myself. Immediately I started to blame myself. I started to scan everything I eat, everything I did, right? Um, Although the doctors are telling me was nothing that I did per se, right? These things are sometimes genetical, whatever they call it, and sometimes they just develop. But you're trying to do all things to have a healthy baby. So when I was told that he had jaundice and he was like extremely yellow and have to go under UV light, I was like, that in itself was heartbreaking, right? Because I want to have my child under me, right? So, but we went through the process. We went under the UV light and stuff like that, and I stayed in the hospital there with him because I'm the kind of person I'm very protective with my children, right? If my children's in the hospital or I am not going to depend on no nurse or no doctor or nobody to take care of my child. No, I will stay there with him. So um, I stayed there with him during the whole process of him being in the hospital. I stayed there with him. That was the first set of that is the first stage of my traumatic experience having to see him under this UV light with his eye blocked up and he constantly and it's like he's crying and like he's thirsty and it was less really hard for me to see it like that, right? So I said like he's thirsty. He said no, he will get fluid through the drips. That was a whole traumatic experience by itself, right? I was like, I could have report all them drips, I swear. Um, but after all in all, he came out. I was so glad when he came out from under that light, so I could hold him. I just wanted to hold him. I wanted to have him on my chest, lie down on me. I wanted to take care of my baby, right? Because I wanted a boy for the longest while, and now he's here, and I'm not gonna let him go. All right. So that was the first stage. Next, they told me that he had was to go through a blood transfusions. So that was the next stage by itself. Is it's really any mother in this situation will be like is very despondent, very distant, right? Um, it's hard to hear your your baby, not even a couple, just a few couple months old, right? That's what they took him in into a room, and to do this in order for them to do this blood transfusion, right? He has to be awake, so they can't put him on no anesthetic. They can't put him to sleep, so that he have to feel this cutting through his navel in order to extract this blood, and all these change this blood, and he is screaming at the top of his lungs, and I'm right outside the door, hearing my child bawling, and nurses coming like, yo, okay. No, I'm not. You understand? So the more people came to me, the more angry I got. So I didn't want no one around me per se.
I just cutting you. While going through this period, did you had support around you?
Um, I want to say yes, but I won't be able to because I'll be lying. So not no. No, I didn't.
You was basically dealing with this matter
By
by
myself.
yourself.
Yes. Yes, by myself. Yes. Which makes it even more harder, right? So anyway, I was like outside the. I mean, his dad was there now and then when he had to go through the blood transfusion and stuff like that. But he never stayed because he said he can't hear his son bawling. You understand? So I was like outside the door and I was pacing the corridor, praying, praying, praying. Lord, put him to sleep, put him to sleep, put him to sleep, because the child is bawling to the fact that he's getting sore throat. He can't scream no more. You understand? So he finally it's like what the doctor then came out and tell me, like, all of a sudden I heard the crying stop. I said, thank you, Jesus. Thank you. The doctor then told me he just immediately fell asleep. He just immediately fell asleep. Deep sleep. I said, thank God. I was ready to bust into that room, seriously. But that was the second stage of my experience, right? So you see people and you see people and then you judge, and people do. Everybody does deal with pain in some different way, right? But not everybody will be able to, like, shelter pain or keep it at bay, as they say. People just find why she get on so a certain way, but it has to it takes a lot to deal with a traumatic experience in such a way, right? Um, and I was like, persons within my church at the time, they were like, Trisha, how you could have deal with that? If that was me, I had done, like, gone off already. I said, I don't even know myself. I understand. I don't even know myself because I don't. Because I did not know how I was dealing when I was getting this. It was only God. Only God could have been the one to sustain me.
But yet you walk around and people thinks that everything is
Yeah.
okay.
I never, I never showed. I was never one to show signs of. I was fine. I never wanted to be a burden to nobody, right? So I will never ever portray the image of wanting attention, or, oh gosh, I'm feeling down. We'll never get that. Only those who really, really know me, right, will know my moods, or my how well, or when my moods or whatever change. Unless you don't know me, you will think I am fine all the time, right? But during that experience, I kept myself together. God kept me together, right? Because I had my little girl there looking at me, right? She was like 7 at the time, so she's looking at mommy. So I could not. I tell myself I can't break down. I cannot fall.
Yeah, to keep strong.
I have to sustain some metal standard, right? Because she's already seen her little brother like this, and then she's looking at me. So she can't be crying, watching she brother crying and mommy crying too. That doesn't make no sense. So somebody have to be the strength around. So I chose to be the strength. So even though I was going through my mess inside.
So did you come out, well, when you came out from the hospital, what was the outcome of the whole situation?
Well, after the whole blood transfusions and stuff like that, um, after we came out, it was it was okay. He still couldn't sit up by himself. He couldn't sit up by himself, right? His muscles on them were more or less weak, right? He could not stand up by himself. He had also be braced up, right? He was what they call a vegetable. right? And then he used to suffer with 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 constant seizures. So on top of all this, he is seizing up. So when he goes through his seizure moments, and you have to be watching him, right? So there's certain things I had, so I could not go out to work to say because I ain't putting him in nobody else's hand, right? So he had constant seizures, right? Epileptic fits, right? Muscle spasms, and but Isaiah was the sort of person. He and all will just sit on me. I will hold him, right? And he will like look at me as to say, "Mommy is okay." Mommy, he will be in pain. I will know he's in pain, and that child will not cry. He will just look at me, stare me in my eyes, and smile. You understand? So, he and all were like, he was like trying to protect me as to say, "Mommy's okay. Mommy's gonna be okay. You know, I'm not gonna cry." He go to his spasm and he fighting it back and he watching me. Oh, he not crying. Stubborn like that.
I guess you get that.
I guess so. Yeah, so going through all that, he so every time I bring him outside I had to prop him up on the chair with the pillow so he will sit up straight. Yeah, so that we went through that. Um he lived for 3 years. Yeah. He lived up to his third year. We had many times I had to time to physical therapy, the trying to tune up his muscles, you know. Um but I will do my little thing home, massage him and oil him and do all what I could do. But then much that he was keeping down, even to get him to eat was a problem. Right? So I'll have to blend or puree everything, right? And it was a real challenging time. I could say it was the most challenging time of my life, right? But the most challenging of all was that particular day that he was leaving us. That was the most. My daughter, she kissed him and she left for school. And then I was scheduled to carry him down the road for another therapy session. But I dressed him up and stuff like that, and we were about to leave, or we were leaving. And while walking on the road, I saw his facial impression start to change. Right, his eyes began to turn glassy, and he walked on the road to get a taxi. Right, so and my child started to like his eyes started to roll up, eyes started to become glassy, and his skin started to become pale and cold. So I started to run on the road with all my bag and my child in my hand. And I ran on the road and I have a cousin living right out the road. I was like, come on, I have to go down the road now. And he said, okay, Trisha. And he just don't ask no question because he knows Trisha I don't ask unless I really need. Right? So when I say, come on, I have to go now, something wrong. So he just pulled out his car and I just jumped in the back seat and he was like speeding, driving on the white line, going down to Casualty, right? And we were just speeding through traffic and driving in the middle, popping horn. It was, I'm a child in my hand and he going down, he going, because you can see his eyes and it's going and you're seeing the, the, um, the kind of cold coming up, forming within his eyes. But that is just the, the covering and then Um, we speeding coming up Independence Avenue, and breaking traffic light. Um, coming trying to get into like casualty. As I hit casualty, even before I hit casualty, when I hit that traffic light to go up the hill by the hospital there, um, he, my son just looked up at me as if to say, "Mommy's okay. I'm okay now," and he left. So that was it. In my hand, I lost my life.
So Trisha, I understand every word that you now speak because that were once me. I was in that same situation. The only difference is that I didn't get the opportunity to see the child. So I could just imagine by you having this bond with this child, with this baby, this you don't have name everything, and then you know it is really really challenging. But Trisha, if you have to advise other lady out there who is viewing this interview at this time, what would you say to advise them, to impact them, to be strong in times like this? I mean, you have been through it and you experience it. So I know you will have a proper advice to give.
Anyone who have experienced loss of a baby, um, we we have to learn how to look at it as something of a blessing, because at the end of the day, that baby may have been suffering internally, that you, with all your love and all your care and all your affection, you will not be able to heal, or you wouldn't be able to touch to that depth that is needed, right? So Daddy God, in all his wisdom and all his love, saw it fit to take this child out of this torment, out of this hurt. I mean, we as adults, and even we as adults, when we experience pain, is be like traumatic. Whether we get a cut, or some part of us hurt, we get a belly gripe or a headache. It is to the extreme that sometimes we are unable to cope. We are unable to bear, right? So put that put that into the same category of a newborn or a child within um 0 to 12 months, experiencing that kind of traumatic experience, experiencing that sort of pain, that sort of discomfort. It's not easy. It will not be easy, right? And at first instant, I was like, um, because at first instant, I asked God to give me a name for this child, right? Because I really wanted a son, and he called him Eliezer, right? And Eliezer meaning is prince, prince of gods, and he is a prince because he looked up at me, and he allowed me to read his thoughts. He allowed me to go on one-on-one with him. And mommy, I'm okay. I came and I do what I had was to do. And it's time for me to leave. Right? And it's okay. And he looked up at, the experience of a child looking up at you, fixed in your eyes, until that the whole pupil of his eyes, the whole white of his eyes just covered. It is an experience you'll never forget. Never forget. And it took me a while to come to copes with it. This is the first time I've ever really spoke about this. I don't speak about this at all. I couldn't. I couldn't at all. Cause I had a lot of un unnurtured like hurts and blame and like what I didn't do or what I could have do better or maybe I eat too much of this and maybe I didn't enough enough of that. But when I sat down and and I spoke about and I really looked into it, I just came here for a purpose to show you what real love is. It's that I'm genuinely for me to experience what real love is, right? And he really showed me that because in spite of his pain, he used to look at you and smile. Smile. He would be playing with his sister. He can't move, but he's still jiggling, jumping, happy. You understand? So even in, I was so like rough neck, literally. Seriously. Even when we reached in the hospital, I know he had gone, right? Right, we know he had gone. I know he had gone. It's when the driver heard me bawl out, then he realized, oh my God, well now it's jet. Yeah, he can pull over. So, he know he had gone, and then when we reached up the casualty, I was like busting through the gates, and they want to stop me. And like, I have a child move, and we rush in there, and then we rush in um to a part in level 3. And then I bust in and they had him on a they had him on a stretcher, they had him on a bed, they put him on a bed and pull the curtain. A doctor will come to me right now and say where the doctor, I was frantic, I was out of my mind. I say, oh, you all could try something, and everybody will look at me like that in itself is more frustration by itself. Because you're looking for the attention to the urgency that you came in there with and you're not getting it. Right? So that was next and then they took me out. Some people from church came and they found me there sitting down right outside the doctor's door. I wasn't moving. And they took me out and the doctor then came out and tell me, okay, I'm sorry, but your son passed. Although I know it is something that's happened when somebody actually tell you it. It you see, confessing it, I know it. It happened. I know when he died. The time he died, I know he died in my hands. Right, looking up at me, I know he passed right there. So when I brought him into there, his spirit had already left. I was just bringing in a case in. I know this. But to hear it being confessed to my face was something different. You understand? So I was just I really couldn't remember what happened after that. I felt like they injected me or something to get me to sleep because I gone. It it wasn't.
Something that you said earlier on were that you keep it inside. And this is something that you does hear a lot of persons saying these things. It's hard to talk about at the moment. You're frightened. You don't know what to do. You don't know what people will even tell you outside there. Right? So you choose to keep it inside. But I'm telling you today, Trisha, we happy to have you on our program because this is a story a lot of women face throughout Trinidad, Tobago, International, all over. But as I say, if you didn't open your mouth and say this story here today, we would have never known because you're glowing today.
Thank you, Brittany.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much. Yes, I know we. It's not that we doesn't a lot as women. It's not that we don't want to open out, right, or express our feelings, but many a times the sort of feedback you just get when you you know reach to that depth, it is discouraging that it does make you regret even starting the topic, bring up the conversation. A lot of a lot of persons will say, yes, I understand. Oh, yes, I feel your pain. Yes, I could relate. No, no, you can't. No. Let's be honest. Nobody can relate to that. That is that is unrelatable. You have to be in a situation like that in order to relate to somebody with that issue, right? So that in itself, but it does a lot. It does a lot to just be able to talk about it freely. I have given myself chance to heal, chance to say, Trisha, it wasn't your fault. You really couldn't do nothing, and you women out there need to give all yourself a forum in order to heal. Take some time off for yourself and get in that setting. It is not your fault. You did what you're supposed to do. You can't do it all. God not expecting you to do it all. You are to do your portion and He is to do the rest. Right? And in his understanding, if he chooses to let the child come home, a loved one come home, allow it. Allow it. Don't hold that guard down. Don't hold that spirit down. Let it go, let it fly, because sometimes we hold back a child's spirit, and I feel a lot of time that I was doing Isaiah that when I wasn't letting him, I wasn't releasing him within myself, right? It's like he is standing at the gateway and he's waiting for me to release him because I will not let him go. He's seeing all the other children pass by and he is standing there waiting. Like, Mommy, I want to go in, but you will not let me go.
So, Trisha, at this time, how you mend back yourself? How you start to, feel back that aliveness? Because I mean, at the time you were facing this trial, I know you wasn't yourself, right? So how did you reach to that point where you could have find back you?
I am still a work in progress, honestly. I have not found back me to that point because part of me is still lost when that part could never be just found back or replaced, right? Um, so I am still a work in progress, but I have learned to embrace the present of what I do have, right? I have learned to love me for who I am, right? I used to, because of that situation, I had a grave depression, grave self esteem crash, everything down spiral. I was a total fiasco. Total. And I want to thank God for my daughter because she is like, Mommy, you're so beautiful. And Mommy, you're so strong. And Mommy is so vibrant. And Mommy is so loyal. And Mommy, I'm like, what this child seeing? I ain't seeing it. Seriously, I was just totally off myself. Totally off myself. Right? You do what you have to do for your children, and that is all I see it as. I do what I'm supposed to do as a mom for her kids. That's what I do. I feed you, I clothe you, I cover you, I guide you. That's what I'm supposed to do. You don't have no trophy in that, and I ain't looking for none. But but kids, on the other hand, they see it as different. They see it as a gifting. They see it as deserve the hummingbird medal. They see it differently. We see it as a job, or what they're supposed to do, motherly duties. You understand? They don't see it as that. They really appreciate a parent who takes the time out to just to say, I love you, you're beautiful. I'm so happy you're my daughter. I'm so happy you're my son. They mightn't show it, or they might say, oh God, mommy, you're nagging. But deep down in the back, believe you me, it growing a plant. A seed have been planted. Just continue, it will blossom. Just continue. Because when that do stop, they will be looking out for it, eh? They will be looking out for it. They're looking out for that. I love you. You are beautiful. Because in children's downtime, and children do have downtimes, don't think because children are running about that they don't have downtime. They have their downtime. They will remember. My mommy tell me I pretty. My mommy tell me she love me. So that was give them a vibe to have something to look forward to. You understand? So I have learned to make the best of what I have, to nurture what I have. Even my giftings, and I've always been shy of, because you always think that I always say that I don't want to be a burden to nobody. I don't want my troubles to be. I mean, everybody had a cross to bear. Everybody had the issues to like go through. So I don't want to come like no additive, preservative added on to your headache. You understand? So I like to deal with my thing myself.
So, Trisha, today you have the opportunity to reach out and to say thanks. Saying thanks to your daughter. She played a big role, I could see, in your life, and that is so awesome. So, I'm giving you this opportunity, this platform to say thank you. The most person right now we have to thank is God, the Most High, because without Him we have nothing. Nothing, nothing. I don't care what nobody say.
Exactly.
He is the first and he will always be. So I giving you this platform here now to say thank you to
Well, Daddy God will always come first. Always, 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 always. He do not shy on his glory, right? He will bring you to your knees in order to get his glory. He don't play with your glory. So don't keep it to yourself. But I give him freely, don't let him have a comfort. Right? So Daddy God is first. Always. He has kept me, is keeping me. A lot of people wondering how me I ain't sentenced yet. No, I'm not going there. That day there is not for me. I have a work to do, and not his sentence. Right? But through my experience, people was like I'm telling you, Brittany, a lot of church members were like, how it is you still in your right mind? How it is you still Trisha? You understand? You ain't no hand not you ain't no anesthetic pill, nothing to control. I said, do you know who my God is? Do you know who he really is? My God don't need help to do nothing. All but he is glory all by himself. He is great all by himself. So I am not going there, and I will never be no statistic, right? So I want to thank God for keeping me and continuing keeping me up to this day, right? I recently celebrated my 40th. Hello.
Well, 40 do look good, huh?
You understand? Right? Right? So I thank God for keeping me. Right? I now have two beautiful girls. Right? The last one, she's Desha. She totally reminds me of her brother. Very much like her brother. Loving, clingy to mommy. Yeah, that is Desha. Loving too bad. Right? Just, you can't, I can't stop giving God thanks because if it wasn't for him, I'd have been sentenced. I swear. I'd have been knocking on walls. But he kept that mental stability because Trisha, you have something more to do. Because Trisha, that you didn't go through that traumatic experience for nothing. And ladies, you have to understand that every trial that you go through it didn't just happen. Nothing in your life just happens. Every trial is a step forward. Every situation that you go through is a seed being planted. Every situation that you come up against in life is a lesson being learned. So at the end of the day, it's just growth. You have to understand that you have to grow through your experiences. If it wasn't for your experiences, you'll remain stagnant. From a baby, you'll learn to walk. If it wasn't for your experiences of falling down, you never know how to stand up. You understand? You walk somewhere and you bounce your foot. It wasn't for your experiences, you wouldn't understand if I don't go there, they will bounce my foot. So everything you have to understand, yes, it was some experience. Okay, not some. All the experiences will hurt. That we just form that in your mind. Experiences are lessons, and no new thing that is being learned comes easy. It will have a hurt, it will have a distress, it will have a discomfort. You will feel discomfort, you will feel hurt, you will feel like you're uncomfortable because this is not your comfort zone, it's out of your comfort zone, right? But sometimes we have to step out of our comfort zone in order for us to embrace the reality. Because most of the times the success, I have never heard any successful person being successful within their comfort zone. You always have to step out, right, and go forth, right? So you have to look at life experiences as stepping stones, right? Yes, you will cry. Yes, you will feel, weak at some moments, but sometimes you have to learn to shake it off. Shout, worship, do what you have to do, but just keep going, right? If you have to crawl, crawl, crawl until you learn how to walk again, right? Crawl until you learn how to walk again. If you have to hold onto something and drag yourself, do that, right? But at the end of the day, we have to stand up. Too many times we as women just falter. We just want this. We just want the nurturing that we just give. We are nurturers. Women on the whole are nurturers. We nurture everything. We nurture our spouses. We nurture our children. We nurture situations. We don't nurture ourselves. We nurture everybody on the outskirts. We rarely ever nurture ourselves. And we have to learn how to nurture ourselves sometimes. Because sometimes we just want the nurture from other persons, but we don't get it the way we just give it. Right? So we have to learn how to give ourselves it. And it may feel like I giving you all and I ain't getting nothing for myself. You have to love yourself first. In order for persons to see you as how you want them to see you, you have to be an example of what you want them to see. Right? Because persons will develop it inside of their mind what they want to see. No, you will see yourself as all that, and somebody will look at you as simple. right? Because that is what you portraying. Persons will only see what you show them on the outside. It's only when they get to know you and really take that time to know you, then they'll understand, okay, the value of this person. But you have to value yourself first. It always starts with you, right? Through all traumatic experiences, love you, nurture you, and build you. If that is being selfish, well, okay, be selfish. Because without you, we can't have nobody else. If you can't nurture you, how you nurture your children? If you can't nurture you, how you nurture your spouse? If you don't love yourself, how you love anybody else? You will know how. Because it starts with you. Right? It's what you build for yourself, is what you will want around you. Right? If you always have yourself low, that's how you'll have your children. Right? Always have a standard. Those who stand for something, you have to stand for something. If you don't stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. You have to have a standard. Not everything that come, you go grab onto it. You have to know what is for you and what is not. Right? You have to know what to embrace and what to reject. What to say yes to and what to say no. It's not for me. It's okay. If you're not part of the crowd, that's fine. If you have to stand alone, that's great. That's even better. Okay? Crowd, it's not always, people always want to be part of a certain clique, a certain part of a crowd. Okay, this person, them wearing this, so I want to be in this. No. No. You have to develop your individual look, your individual stand, your individual goal. You are individuals. We are all individuals. Right? When two persons come together, they are individuals. You can't expect that person to know what you're thinking and vice versa. You will have to learn, you have to come to understanding, you have to learn to communicate, to interact, to know what for, what against who. He has to understand your standard, you have to understand his. And it's either you all could congregate or not. Right.
Trisha, I must say thank you again for sharing your story with us. Just by listening to it, I know you have a degree in life. Right? So we want to thank you so much for coming out today at Empowered by Women. Please keep viewing. If you wish to be a part of this movement, simply contact the number below, which is 739-9300. Anonymous, if you wish to.